Welcome to Lesson 3.14, Applying Cryptography, Cryptographic Protocols. In your Candidate Information Bulletin, we are in the Security Engineering domain. We are in Key Area of Knowledge I, which is Applied Cryptography, and our topics are going to be cryptographic protocols, including IPsec, SSL, TLS, HTTPS, SSH, SFTP, and SMIME. The goal of this lesson is to introduce you to a number of cryptographic protocols while we're still talking about cryptography and the ideas are all fresh in your mind. In Lesson 4, we're going to be diving deeper into each one of these protocols. So a cryptographic protocol performs a security-related function and applies cryptographic methods. The common cryptographic protocols are IPsec, SSL and its successor TLS, HTTPS, SSH, SFTP, and SMIME. Before we look at those protocols, I just want to do a reminder of different ways that we can encrypt data in transit. Data in transit can be secured using either link encryption or end-to-end encryption mechanisms. Link encryption means that all of the control information, the headers, the trailers, and the routing information is encrypted along with the payload. All intermediary devices must perform both decryption and encryption functions to process routing instructions. Link encryption is not feasible over the internet because our intermediate links are not secure. So link encryption is used when we have direct point-to-point connections between two sites. In end-to-end encryption, only the payload is encrypted. All the control information, the headers, the trailers, the routing information is accessible and viewable. So that intermediary devices do not have to do any encryption-related functions. So the first protocol I want to introduce you to is to IPsec. IPsec is a framework that allows two computers or network devices to securely transmit data via the TCP/IP protocol suite. It is the de facto VPN, or Virtual Private Network Protocol. In Lesson 4, we're going to be talking about VPNs and diving deeper into the components of IPsec. For our purposes now, you want to remember that IPsec supports authentication, it supports data integrity using hashing, it supports data confidentiality using encryption, and it provides replay protection. Secure socket layer and transport layer security, better known as SSL and TLS, provides security by encrypting information and providing authentication at the application layer. The server certificate and public key authenticates the server to the client. The client and the server have a handshake which establishes the encryption method, and then data is encrypted at the client side with a session key. Remember, that's symmetric. And then the session key is encrypted with the server's public key. So the session key is encrypted with the public key, and then it's sent back to the server, and it's decrypted with the server's private key. The same way that we saw Bob and Alice send an encrypted message to each other, we're using SSL and TLS to communicate between a secure server and a client. We can also use a hashing algorithm to create a message authentication code, or HMAC, to verify the integrity of the communication. HTTPS, or the Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, is a result of layering the HTTP transfer protocol, so the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP, on top of SSL or the TLS protocol at the application layer, which adds the security capabilities of SSL and TLS to standard HTTP communication. Secure Shell, also called SSH, is a set of standards and an associated network protocol that allows a secure channel between a local and a remote computer. Very often, Secure Shell is being used for administration. Secure Shell, or SSH, uses public key cryptography to authenticate the remote computer and optionally to allow the remote computer to authenticate the user. SSH provides confidentiality and integrity of the data exchange between two computers using encryption and using hashed message authentication codes. Secure File Transport, SFTP, uses SSH, or uses a Secure Shell protocol to transfer files. So SFTP encrypts both commands and data, preventing passwords and sensitive information from being transmitted openly over the network. That's important because FTP, File Transfer Protocol, is a clear text communication protocol. There's often a lot of confusion. Some people think that SFTP is really FTP and SSL, or TLS, but it's not. SFTP uses a secure shell, or SSH, protocol. Secure Multipurpose Internet Mail Extensions, known as SMIME, provides email authentication, message integrity, non-repudiation of origin using digital signatures, and data security using encryption. So all of the components we've been talking about in cryptography, encryption and hashing and digital signatures, don't just apply to the communications that we saw between Alice and Bob, but are embedded in a number of very important and useful protocols. So let's do a lesson 3.14 review. We've been talking about cryptographic protocols, specifically IPsec, SSL and TLS, HTTPS, SSH, SFTP, and SMIME. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the lesson, in Lesson 4 we'll be exploring these protocols in more depth. So let's do a match the meaning. The terms I want to make sure you're familiar with and comfortable are link encryption, end-to-end encryption, IPsec, SSL and TLS, HTTPS, SSH, SFTP, and SMIME. I'd like you to take a few minutes, put me on pause, make sure you can match the meaning, and then when you're ready, come on back and we'll go through them together. All right, let's take a look at Lesson 3.14 terms. Link encryption means that both the payload and the header, so all of the control information, is encrypted. That means if we send something in link encryption, the intermediary devices need to know how to decrypt the control information. And we talked about the fact that the internet is not the mechanism that we want to use for link encryption because we have insecure devices as midway points. End-to-end encryption says it's only the payload that's encrypted, so the header and all of the control information is available for transport. IPsec is a de facto VPN protocol. SSL or TLS is an application layer cryptographic protocol. HTTPS is the hypertext transfer protocol plus SSL or TLS. SSH, which is secure shell, is generally used for secure remote authentication. SFTP is used for secure file transfer, and SMIME is used for secure email. So let's look at some CISSP exam tips as we wrap up this lesson. SSL has been replaced by TLS. End-to-end encryption means only the payload is encrypted. And link encryption means that the header, the control information, and the payload is encrypted. You want to make sure you remember these. So thanks for joining me for this lesson, and I look forward to seeing you in the next.